Mr. Jonathan Weber. هو الفاوندر and lead developer at Marathon Studios Incorporation. You are welcome, Mr.
Okay, hello, and it's my great honor to be here at the Arab Security Conference. My name is Jonathan Weber. I'm the founder and CEO of Marathon Studios Incorporated. We are a development, consultation, and training company based in Pennsylvania, USA. I had the great fortune to meet one of the organizers of this security conference at the High Technology Crime Investigation Association's conference last year in the United States. So today I'm going to be making two presentations before you. The first, right now, we're going to be talking about the darknet and Tor, which was mentioned several times during previous presentations. The next presentation later this afternoon, we're going to be talking about Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. So both of these technologies are emerging technologies. They are very new. Bitcoin, the concept, was only invented in 2009. The darknet and Tor is an encryption system and an anonymity system that was also invented around the same time, but both of which have become very, very prominent both in the cybersecurity world, in the financial world, and in the business world over the past few years. So today in the Tor and darknet presentation, we're going to be covering two different sections. The first is going to be an introduction to the Tor network and an explanation of what can be found on the darknet and darknet markets. Second, darknet markets and law enforcement are one of the largest things that is coming to broad with Bitcoin and darknet technology. So dark markets are places where you can go on the darknet and purchase, many cases, illegal weapons, illegal technology, drugs. So we're going to be talking about what the darknet markets are and what law enforcement in the United States and around the world has done to combat their spread. So first, an introduction to Tor. Tor is an acronym that stands for the Onion Router, which discusses a little bit later about how it works. It has multiple layers in ensuring anonymity of traffic that goes across the network. The United States National Security Agency has stated that Tor is the king of high secure, low latency internet anonymity. The technology that underlies Tor was actually developed by the US Department of Defense prior to it becoming an open source project that has then become used worldwide. So the Tor system provides two different things. It provides, first, anonymity when visiting standard websites. So if you are connecting to the internet using the Tor browser, the websites that you are visiting cannot tell who you are or where you are. Second, Tor provides a new type of internet called the darknet. This is powered by hidden services which offer two-way anonymity. So we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later about what exactly this means. So when connecting to Tor, you use a special browser that's called the Tor browser. So the Tor browser, and this is a screenshot of what it looks like here, is based on Firefox, and it's a highly secure browser that's used to interface with the Tor network. So generally, in this presentation, I'll show a demonstration of the Tor browser and how it works. Because of the format and also because of other technical difficulties that I'll explain a little bit later, we're just going to be showing images of the Tor browser and the Tor network in this presentation. So a little bit of an explanation about how a Tor connection works. So when the user here connects to the Tor network, they're routed first to what's called a Tor entry node, which is a computer that's a part of the Tor network and accepts incoming connections. Second, that Tor entry node will then shuttle that traffic between multiple IPs known as Tor nodes. Tor nodes can be any computer anywhere in the world that's volunteered to run the software that enables the Tor network. Finally, the traffic is routed to what's called a Tor exit node, which then redirects the traffic to the actual website that the tour user themselves has trying to access. So this is what's called onion routing or tour routing. It's multiple layers, which ensures complete anonymity because the individual does not know which tour routes they're going through, and the website that is being visited does not know who is on the other side of those tour nodes. Now, just to make a disclaimer, just because it shows a terrorist here using the Tor network does not mean that everybody on the Tor network is bad. Tor is a very powerful system that can be used for many different reasons. It is used very often by cyber criminals and terrorists, but it's also used by law enforcement, journalists, and other private individuals all around the world. So that brings us to our next point, which is Tor accessibility in Egypt. And this is actually something that I learned very recently when I was preparing for this presentation. The Tor network is actually blocked by several of the largest ISPs in Egypt. Not all of them, but several of them, including the ISP that serves this conference venue here. So this brings an interesting point. There are many different organizations that attempt to block or control access to the Tor network. It's very difficult, if not impossible, to block completely. And the reason for that is twofold. First, because the method of blocking Tor is generally done by blocking access to the Tor entrance nodes, which are the IP addresses that you initially connect to when you're starting a Tor circuit. There are lists out there of all of the different Tor entry nodes, but this list is constantly changing. So if you want to prevent access from Tor, or you want to track who is accessing the Tor, you have to keep a completely updated list of these nodes, which is very difficult. And second, Tor is often combined with other cryptographic and other anonymity services, such as a VPN. A VPN, or a virtual private network, allows you to encrypt your traffic that is going from your computer to any other computer and prevent an outside institution or individual from knowing what you were doing. So in this way, you can actually hide the fact that you are connecting to a Tor network. And it's through these methods and other methods that individuals in places where they otherwise could not access the Tor network will be able to. And there is evidence that while the Tor usage in Egypt has gone lower because it is more difficult to use, it has not gone away, and there are individuals using the Tor network in Egypt right now. Tor hidden services, which we had talked about earlier, provide two-way anonymity. So this is different from just accessing a normal website when this website will not know who is accessing them. In a Tor hidden service, you also do not know the location or the identity of the website to which you are connecting. In many cases, people are using Tor and using the onion routing protocol for illegal methods. When you're using a hidden service, this allows you to connect to a website that is doing illegal things, allowing you to make illegal transactions, and it will not allow you or law enforcement to know who is running this web server or where it is being run. Now, this is very different from the normal internet. When you're talking about a normal internet service, it's possible to look up an IP address and find out where that server is being hosted. In many cases, the only things that are preventing law enforcement from then taking down infringing sites or hacking services is because those servers are hosted in a foreign country that they do not have jurisdiction in. However, when you're talking about a Tor hidden service, the onion routing protocol ensures that the people who are connecting to that website have no idea where it is hosted. So what that means is that you have to find out where that service is hosted before you can even have a chance of finding out who's behind it and taking it down. So Tor hidden services are what power what's called the dark net. The dark net is the internet that is not accessible from a normal browser. It is only accessible from a Tor browser. On the dark net, you will find dark webs, as well as dark markets, which is one of the largest institutions that you will find on the dark net. A dark market is a decentralized, anonymous marketplace where you can buy anything from sellers who are often selling things that are illegal in the countries that they're selling them. On dark markets, you can find drugs, counterfeits, and weapons. You can also find money laundering tools such as Bitcoin tumblers and other financial services. There are hidden services that allow gambling, that allow hacking services, that allow even hitmen or contracting people to kill or injure somebody else. It also allows anonymous communication, which can be used both for nefarious and legal purposes. You can see here on the side, this graph shows you a breakdown, and this breakdown is a year or so old, that shows what kind of products and services you'll most commonly find on the darknet. So the most common product sold on the darknet is marijuana. There's also pharmaceuticals, MDMA, LSD, and meth, as well as other hard drugs, as well as weapons, hacking services, gambling, and the other things that we had talked about. So this is an anatomy of a dark market. A dark market is accessed through what's called a dark web address. So this is a URL similar to a .com or a .net or a .org that you would use on the normal internet. But in this case, these URLs can only be accessed through the Tor browser. They have a .onion extension, and it's a random combination of characters. There's no way to search for dark web addresses. You have to know what they are. There are a number of websites and services where you can go to find lists of different dark web addresses that are available. On a dark market, all payments are made in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrencies in the other session later this afternoon, but cryptocurrencies are untraceable, highly valuable payment methods that can be used across international borders and cannot be tracked, stopped, or identified by authorities. The products are shipped discreetly to buyers via mail drop. There's a lot of different techniques that they use to send via international post all of these different purchases that are being made. Often you do have cross-border commerce where sellers in Europe or the Middle East are selling to buyers in the United States, South America, anywhere in the world. There are review and rating systems, but markets frequently disappear, become hacked, or are compromised by the authorities. So this is something that, because the dark web is completely anonymous, you do not know who is running the dark markets. You don't know who is ensuring that all the sellers on the dark markets are honest. So you see a lot of scamming, and you see a lot of unsurety. It's very like the wild, wild west. It is not regulated, and everybody who is on that understands that what they're doing can be stopped at any given time. So in the past 2 years, when I've been giving this presentation, there were 4 different dark markets that I would present and do a demonstration of. And 3 of those dark markets, in the time since I've started giving this presentation, have disappeared. 2 of them were hacked, and 1 of them was closed down by the authorities. So this graph over here shows the flow of a transaction on the dark market. You take fiat currency, US dollars, euros, Egyptian pounds, you exchange it for Bitcoin or another cryptocurrency. The cryptocurrency is then transferred to your account in the darknet market. The buyer can then make a purchase of whatever materials they want on the darknet market, and the cryptocurrency is held in escrow until the transaction is completed. The darknet market takes a percentage, which is how they earn their money, and then the vendor is paid after they deliver the service or the product. The product is then shipped to the individual who bought it, and the seller can transfer the cryptocurrency back into real money. So this is the point in the presentation where I'm going to show you a little bit about what these darknet markets look like. These 2 URLs down here are darknet URLs. You cannot access them through a normal browser. But this over here is called the Reddit Dark Market Discussion. This is on the normal internet. It is accessible from our connections here. So this is something that if you're curious to see people talking about their activities on the darknet, this is a very interesting URL to visit. So this darknet website that we're looking at right here is called Global Guns. This is a website that is no longer active. It was active for several years, and it was very, very heavily targeted by law enforcement until it disappeared. Whether it was taken down by law enforcement or whether the owners just disappeared and then went somewhere else is unknown to be seen. But you can see here that this darknet market allows you to buy pistols, rifles, explosives, ammunition, all sorts of weapons, and they will ship worldwide. Payments were made via Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, and then the goods would be securely delivered. This is a more standard darknet. So this darknet here, I believe is called, it's one of the predecessors of the Silk Road. And you can see most of the things being sold here are drugs. So you have a lot of different pharmaceuticals, a lot of different hard drugs that are available for purchase. You can see the username of the seller. You can see where they ship to. Some of them only ship to the United States. Some of them ship worldwide. Often the sellers will not ship outside of their own country due to the extra scrutiny that's given to packages by Customs and Border Protection. But you can see over here that in addition to drugs, there's also chemicals that can be used to make drugs for drug dealers. There's services, hacking services, gambling services. There's weapons, firearms, knives, ammunitions, fake guns. You can also order fake documents. You can order a fake passport from an African country for about $3,000. A fake passport for a European country costs about $10,000. A fake passport for the United States costs about $15,000. So all of these services are available. But because it is on the darknet, because all of this is anonymous, it is very, very risky for criminals or people who are looking to make these purchases to engage in such purchases, because you do not know who it is you're engaging with. Exit scams are very common. An exit scam is when a darknet market becomes popular. So millions and millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are being deposited into the market. So what happens is when enough cryptocurrency has been deposited into the market, the owner or owners of the market take all the Bitcoin and they disappear. So this over here, I thought this was pretty funny. This is on the Reddit discussion board that I had shown you the URL of before. This is a very common seller who posted a notice of intent to exit scam, where they said, "Thank you for trusting us with all of your money, but now we're going to take it and run away." They're just that upfront about it because it's so common and there's so little recourse. Because if you had thousands of dollars stolen from you that you were trying to use to buy guns or drugs, you can't go to the police. You can't go to law enforcement or intelligence. So nobody is going to track down those criminals for you. So often exit scams are done because the owners of these dark markets know that it's only a matter of time until law enforcement catches up with them. They would rather steal all the money they can and get away with it than keep going for as long as they can and eventually be caught. So that brings us to the Silk Road. The Silk Road is the oldest, the first, and at its time the largest darknet market. The Silk Road is really the darknet market that invented the concept of darknet markets. This was the first place where you could buy drugs, the first place where you could buy weapons, the first place where you could buy forgeries. And this began back in 2011, back in the very early days of the darknet, the very early days of Bitcoin. And it was launched by an individual who went by the name of the Dread Pirate Roberts. The Dread Pirate Roberts started this. It was very, very small, but then soon it became huge. This hit all of the national news, and Interpol, the United States FBI, the CIA, law enforcement all around the world was trying to track down the individual behind this darknet market, the Dread Pirate Roberts, and shut it down. In 2013, they succeeded. They found out that the Dread Pirate Roberts was an individual by the name of Ross Ulbricht. He was 30 years old and he was living in California, and he had been the mastermind behind the Silk Road. And this was after 3 years of investigation by the most intelligent, highest class investigators in the world. So after they were able to identify the Dread Pirate Roberts, they seized control of the Silk Road and they took it down. The Silk Road had 10,000 products, 70% of which were drugs. So how was it that the FBI or the CIA or law enforcement captured the Dread Pirate Roberts after so many people tried to defeat the anonymity software that he was using to protect him? In fact, it's very simple how the Dread Pirate Roberts was identified. And it's so simple, in fact, that everybody in this room could have replicated those same processes. So it was not the FBI or the CIA who captured the Dread Pirate Roberts. It was an IRS agent, someone who worked for the United States Tax Agency. And they didn't capture him using advanced hacking methods or advanced technical details. They captured him using a Google search. This is the Google search here that was used to identify and capture the Dread Pirate Roberts. What they did is they knew that because a darknet market cannot be found by itself, when he started the Silk Road, he must have promoted his service. He must have told people about it. So they used this Google search to find people who were talking about the Silk Road in its earliest days, back before many people would have known about it to begin with. And what they found when they searched this was an individual who was going by the online username of Altoid in January 29th, 2011, before anybody knew about the Silk Road or about the darknet markets, who was talking on a forum about Bitcoin that said, "Hi, has anybody heard about the Silk Road yet? It's like an anonymous Amazon.com where you can buy drugs. Here's the URL. I think you should go there." This was the first person who was ever talking about the Silk Road. So the IRS agent did a little bit more digging to find out, okay, so this person must have been connected to the Silk Road. And it turns out that the Dread Pirate Roberts, Ross Ulbricht, was the owner of this account, and he made a fatal mistake. Several months later, on the same forum, he posted an advertisement looking for a developer, looking for a Bitcoin developer to work for his venture-backed Bitcoin startup, which is, of course, his code word for the Silk Road. And they found down here his email, rossulbricht@gmail.com, which was his actual name and his actual email, and led to his identification and his arrest. It wasn't advanced technology that took him down. It wasn't the CIA, it wasn't the FBI, it was a simple Google search. So this shows how new this technology was and how much law enforcement needed to learn. And that's not the end of the story. After Ross Ulbricht was arrested, there were 2 agents who were involved in his arrest and in his investigation who were later arrested for stealing Bitcoin from the FBI and from the Dread Pirate Roberts. There was one DEA agent who spent months using his investigation tools and accounts to extort Bitcoin from the Dread Pirate Roberts. When a company heard about that, they reported him to another FBI agent who didn't do anything about it. And it turned out later that that FBI agent had also been stealing Bitcoin the same way, although they were not connected. So this shows that so many people, were experiencing this for the first time, that they didn't know, they thought that they were as anonymous and as impossible to catch as the Dread Pirate Roberts was. But the truth is they weren't. They were caught, and both of them were sentenced to jail. So case study 2, which we'll cover very quickly, is a more technical method that was used by the FBI to decloak darknet users. So there were 3 illegal pornography sites that were being operated in the United States by individuals who were found out by the FBI using other investigative methods. They took over those darknet websites, but they didn't take them down like they took down the Dread Pirate Roberts. They actually left them up, and they injected this code here that then infected the users of that website with a virus that uploaded their actual IP address to FBI servers. So using this method, the FBI was not only able to capture and shut down the websites, they were able to identify 25 different users who were using those websites and then later arrest them. So there are multiple methods that can be used to de-anonymize tour services. Some of them incredibly high-tech, some of them incredibly low-tech. So in conclusion, there is a constant arms race between law enforcement and the developers of Tor and the Darknet. The Darknet provides valuable new resources for money launderers, cyber criminals, and the facilitation of financial fraud. While de-anonymizing hidden services is hard, it has been accomplished using both high-tech methods and low-tech, old-fashioned internet forensics. But the Darknet and Darknet markets will remain a key battlefield in the future of the war against cybercrime. So thank you for your attention, and if anybody has any questions, I'm accessible during the conference or at this email. Shukran.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan, for this great